As we have been saying in our confession every week, Lent is a time for us to be honest. It's a time for us to be honest with ourselves, and honest with one another, and most importantly, honest with God. And if we are going to be honest, then one of the things that we need to be honest about is that all of us, to one degree or another, play favorites. We have, at the very least, informal lists of people who we like, people who we want to be with, people who we enjoy hanging out with. And we also have a very informal list of people we don't care much for, and people who we would rather not hang out with, and really we don't want to spend any time with. To one degree or another, we all have a list of folks we don't think you should associate with. Now, of course, we all know that the people that we associate with are just fine. The problem is the people you associate with. That's another story. I'm fine. I don't know about you. Well, the Pharisees have an issue with Jesus today, and it is precisely that. It is that Jesus is hanging out with the wrong people. He is hanging out with a group of people that nobody should be hanging out with. And that group is sinners. You do not hang out with sinners. But Jesus is doing more than just spending time with them. No, that would be bad enough. But no. Jesus is eating with them. He is sharing table fellowship with sinners. Eating together, especially in Jesus' day, but even in our day, really, is one of the most personal social interactions possible. To share a meal with someone is something you are very connected to that person. It's a very public thing. You are intimate with that person. You're there with them. You are sharing food together. And Jesus is doing it with the wrong people. He is eating with sinners. That is not acceptable. We all know that because we are also very picky about who we eat with, aren't we? Back when I was young, I was a struggling musician on the streets of Chicago. I used to go downtown, and there were free lunchtime concerts in the various plazas down there. There's some good music down there. So I would go and I would listen. Everybody brought their lunch. And even in that kind of setting, informal, outdoors, everybody's there together kind of atmosphere, I and everybody else was very picky about where we sat, and about who we sat with, and who sat next to us, and who sat near to us, because you didn't want to be seen sitting next to the wrong person. Now, to be fair, I was usually one of those wrong persons, and people would move away from me rather quickly if I sat down there. I did not look like the handsome and respectable young man you see up here before you today. I had hair down to my back. I had a beard down to here. And I'd wear a sailor's hat. And if it was chilly out, I had my pea coat on. I basically looked like a psycho killer. So people moved away from me because you don't want to sit next to me. No. But I did the same thing. I'd look and say, I want to sit next to that person. We all do it. Who you eat with is the ultimate place where our lists of good and bad folks kick in. So Jesus, horror of horrors, is eating with the wrong people. He's eating with sinners, and the Pharisees basically want to know why. How could he do such a crazy, awful, terrible thing? How dare he break the rules and sit with those people? Because there are rules, you know. There are rules about such things, and Jesus is breaking a huge one. Because good people do not eat with sinners. And Jesus, of all people, ought to know better. Well, when you challenge Jesus, you better be prepared for a long and thorough reply from Jesus. Jesus replies to the Pharisees, not with just the parable we heard today, but with 3 parables. Because why do one when you can tell 3? And completely hammer your point home. All of the parables are about things lost and things found. The first parable is very famous. It is about the lost sheep. The one wanders off, the shepherd leaves the 99 behind and goes out to find the lost sheep. The second one is about the widow who loses 1 silver coin and tears her house apart looking for it until she finds it. And the third one is the lost son. This is not subtle. The lost coin, the lost sheep, the lost son, all equal the sinners that Jesus is dealing with. They are lost too. And Jesus is out there looking for them. He is sweeping under all of the furniture to find them, and he is waiting for them with open arms, helping them to go from lost to found. Basically, sinners are lost, and Jesus is in the finding business. Which is good news for us. Because we are routinely lost. Sin causes us to wander off. Sin causes us to hide under the sofa. Sin causes us to squander our wealth and possessions and do dumb things and end up down and out. We all stumble and fall. We all get lost. And maybe if we're really being honest, maybe we're always lost in one way or another. And Jesus is in the finding business. Jesus goes looking for the lost sheep. Jesus sweeps the house for the lost coin, and he runs to greet the wayward son or daughter who comes staggering back home after completely screwing up their lives. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. Even the Pharisees have to admit that they have no problem with sinners repenting. They have no problem with the lost turning back to God and being found and coming home and all of that. It's just that they have rules about that, and there are procedures that need to be followed for how that can be done. And those procedures and rules involve things like sackcloth and ashes, kneeling and begging, humble and contrite. Actually, Christians are the same way. Sinners can come back anytime they like. Glad to have it. But come back quietly, please. And come back very humbly, if you don't mind, and have a due amount of sorrow in you, and a fair amount of contrition, penance maybe, that'd be good. Make everything right. Hands and knees is really nice posture. You know, the correct way. The problem with this is, for the Pharisees, and for the elder son in the parable, not that Junior came home. Not that sinners are being brought back. No, problem is the rejoicing God. The partying. The celebration that's going on. See, all 3 parables end exactly the same way. With rejoicing. A party. A celebration. And the one rejoicing is the one who did the finding, not the one who was found. Now, that makes sense for sheep and coins. Can you imagine a sheep celebrating? Sheep throwing a party? Coins cannot celebrate. Let's be honest about that. They're a thing. But even the lost son, the party is as much, if not more, for the father than for anyone else. He says, "My son has returned. He was lost and is found, but now he has come back, so now we have to have a party." I need to rejoice. And you need to rejoice with me. Rejoice and be glad. For the one who was lost has been found. The one who had wandered off and come back. We'll sing and we'll dance and we'll have a great time. Because the wanderer has come home. The sinner has repented. Jesus tells us time and time again that heaven rejoices in such things. The angels sing and dance and celebrate when a sinner repents and the lost one returns. But what Jesus is saying today is quite simply, yeah, the angels are having a party. So should you. When we're lost, when we wander off, when we screw up, Jesus searches. And Jesus waits. And he watches with eager expectation. And when we are found, and when we turn the corner and approach home, when Jesus runs out to grab us and embrace us and hug us and kiss us, it's time to party. And it's time to celebrate. Danceable music needs to be played. And you know what else needs to happen? You need to dance to it. Here you're looking at me like I've lost my mind. You need to dance, celebrate, and sing songs of joy. The drums need to play, and the band, and the choir, and the keyboards, and the trumpet, and the clarinet, and everything else we can find in here needs to let it rip, and let it go, and let our hair down. It's easier for some of you than others. Let it go. Good food and good drink. We need it. We need it in abundance. The fatted calf was a rare thing, you know. That was for special occasions. You saved that for the best day of the year. This is it. That's what Jesus says. Rejoice. Get happy. Get silly. Jump up and down. Because the lost has been found. Rejoice and get crazy and lose yourself with joy because the wanderer has come home. Jesus is saying today is that this is what church needs to be. This is what church needs to be like. A place that throws a party when the lost are found. When we are found. When our friends and our families are found, when total strangers are found, we celebrate and we make a joyful noise and we raise the roof. And the pastor, I read his stuff sometimes, his name was Richard Jensen. He wrote one time, what might it do for our evangelism efforts if people knew that our church is a church that throws a party whenever the lost are found? Can you imagine church as a party? Can you imagine church as a real, honest-to-goodness party? Jesus invites us to do more than imagine it. Jesus invites us to make it so.